What's up, Mets fans? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we have a rather quick update on the Mets search of a president of baseball operations and this entire hiring process as a whole. As we know, there are numerous names that have been connected to the Mets that we've discussed in previous videos and live streams on the channel. And one name that we have touched on plenty already is in fact Billy Beane, the senior vice president of baseball operations for, yes, the Oakland A's. And now recent reports that have originally come out yesterday at the time of recording this could very well be an indication that yes, he could be the emerging favorite of that position that the Mets would be hiring him in versus other potential candidates. So that's what I'll be breaking down in today's video. What exactly has been reported to this point? Why is this significant? Why Billy Beane looks like he very well could be emerging as the favorite and everything in between. So as always, guys, make sure you stay all the way till the end of the video. Follow the details on my thoughts on Billy Beane, the current status with his connection with the Mets. How are other potential candidates shaping up with the Mets as well at this point, and so much more. And as always, guys, if you ended up enjoying this kind of Mets content and you want to see more great Mets content like this, please do not hesitate from smashing that like and subscribe button, sharing this video with your friends, put on the notification bell, all those great things. Thank you so much for the continued support, folks. But enough of me talking, let's jump right into today's video. Alright, folks, and for some quick context, if you're, say, unaware on the current status of the Mets and going for president baseball operations, they have been connected to numerous names, more so speculation than actual physical interest that we've seen reported. Things have changed, however, but this all started with Billy Beane over the past month plus because of Ken Rosenthal of The Athletic breaking down a hypothetical at the time, if you will, of both Billy Beane and Bob Melvin, who's the current manager of the Oakland A's, coming over and say really a blockbuster trade, but this time not with players, but with your front office and also managerial position. And while that was a hypothetical at the time, things have definitely changed since then to be more favoring the Mets to making this a reality versus not. But if you guys want to know all the details on that situation, how it could potentially work between not just Beane, but also Melvin, what are their backgrounds and their career at this point, I have that all in that separate video as you see here. So please make sure to check it out in the description down below if you haven't already, folks. But in a nutshell, Billy Beane has been connected for a while, and we've seen conflicting reports in recent live streams that we've discussed on the channel, really some indicating that there is still mutual interest between the Mets and Billy Beane, and other reports that are indicating that it's beyond unlikely that Billy Beane will even land with the Mets. Now fast forwarding things to last night at the time of recording this, here we have John Harper through SNY tweet the following out, and while there's plenty of uncertainties with Steve Cohen and what he's going to do this offseason, Harper just recently spoke to two lifelong friends of Billy Beane who made it abundantly clear that yes, Billy has the interest and would very much be willing to be the next president of baseball operations for the New York Mets, and would assumably put in a new GM in place, get out of Zach Scott, who's the acting GM for the Mets, put in a new GM to handle the day-to-day operations. That's something the A's have been doing a while Billy Beane has been VP of president of baseball ops. You have David Force, who's been the GM for them for a while, has done a very solid job. But now here we have Billy Beane, right? And as I've talked about plenty, I've very much been in favor of Billy Beane. This is a guy that really the only thing that he has lacked in his career and a manager experience between GM now being VP of president baseball operations is actually having a payroll to work with. And yes, I know the story. He denied $12.5 million to be the GM of the Red Sox back in the early 2000s. He would have been the highest paid GM in all in sports at the time. And then 2 years later, the Red Sox went on to win the World Series, and literally like 100 years, it felt like, right? That was only because of the fact that Billy Beane's actual strategy when it comes to using sabermetrics analytics. That's how the Red Sox became the team that they are now, and that's how you see other teams like the LA Dodgers, etc. Big market clubs are taking advantage of analytics and the mindset that Billy Beane first started out with throughout the MLB. So it's not Billy's fault that he hasn't had the payroll, and it's a frustration that's really reached a boiling point. At least that's what numerous reports have indicated in recent years, between parting ways with a lot of guys that he would like to keep on the roster, most recently Marcus Semien, who of course was the most dominant offensively gifted second baseman that's usually a shortstop in his 1 year with the Toronto Blue Jays this year, just to name one guy out of numerous, as we know, with uncertainties with other guys as well. It just feels like Billy Beane very much could be willing for a change of scenery now, and to have a payroll what Steve Cohen could provide, potentially the biggest that you could have in all baseball, yeah, you'd have to imagine that's enticing. So now getting on to, okay, if Billy Beane is in fact the favorite, why haven't they interviewed him yet? Why wouldn't you do that when you have this time versus, say, interviewing others? Well, I think what people need to understand, because there's a common misconception right now, oh, you're not interviewing him first because he's not your favorite, he's not your #1 pick. No, I don't think that's necessarily true whatsoever. The reason why the Mets haven't interviewed anyone yet is because the other proposed candidates that we have seen rumored out there, leaked out there, if you will, are all part of organizations that have been in the playoffs to this point, and you cannot interview people until they are done in the regular season playoffs, right? And the most recent guy to be kicked out is 36-year-old president of baseball operations for the Milwaukee Brewers, that being David Stearns, that we've talked about on the channel previously. Grew up a diehard Mets fan, started his career in the Mets organization. The Mets tried reaching out to him last offseason when they were first starting their regime under Steve Cohen, and the Brewers ownership, said no. They said no, that's not going to happen, and there's nothing really to indicate that there will be anything drastic to change now to get that interview done. So you have a lot of hurdles that you have to deal with, and that was also what you see here with John Heyman tweet out last night as well, saying that the Mets, there's obvious interest for David Stearns, but whether ownership will allow them to do so or not, that's really uncertain. And that's why Billy Beane even makes more sense for the Mets, because while David Stearns will be great, I'm so much in favor for him. Trust me, out of basically all the names that have been floated out there as of recent, I am completely on board with most of them, which is it's a good problem to have if this is in fact the list that the Mets are dealing with, right, between David Stearns, Billy Beane, and the most recent guys from the Dodgers organization that we talked about in a previous video. Check that out if you haven't already, folks, that being in Josh Burns and Brandon Gomes, two great baseball minds as well. But now getting back to Billy Beane, why does he look like the favorite? Why is he emerging as such? Well, if what was stated originally through John Harper, through lifelong friends of Beane is true, then that is really a huge selling point as it is, knowing that he already has that willingness, right? It's just a matter of getting this interview done versus David Stearns, who would be a lateral move. You have to understand that Billy Beane, even though that you have to give up compensation in a scenario, you get him and Bob Melvin, as I broke down my Billy Beane video, he would not be having a lateral move. It would be a promotion. And normally when you acquire someone in management for an opposing team, an executive, and they are going to be promoted, ownership is not going to hold back. They're going to allow it to happen, rightfully so, especially if that person has respect in the organization. And no one has more respect in the organization than Billy Beane for the Oakland A's. It just feels unfathomable to think otherwise. So Billy, he will be moving from VP of President of Baseball Ops to full President of Baseball Ops for the Mets versus a guy like David Stearns, who would be doing the exact same position he currently has in Milwaukee. So already you have that hurdle and trying to figure out if that's even a proper fit. What is ownership going to give you, if at all? There's a lot of uncertainty there. So again, anything's possible. I'm not against Stearns, but right now it really does look like Billy Beane is the leading favorite to this point. And when you look at the other guys from the Dodgers, we still need the Dodgers playoff run to end, which may very well have ended by the time you watch this, because they'll be going into Game 5 of their final game of the NLDS against the San Francisco Giants this Thursday at the time of recording this. So we'll see how that goes. But no less, as more people are becoming available because their playoff runs have done, that's now how we can expect interviews to be underway soon. So as those interviews happen, when they happen, who they interview, we will of course be breaking that down on the channel in either separate videos or live streams. Rest assured, any significant update with the Mets and their search of President of Baseball Ops, GM, managerial, and of course trade signings, all those fun stuff throughout the offseason, we will be breaking down on the channel. So to wrap things up, folks, Billy Beane, everything is an indication at this point from all these reports, if they hold true, that he very well could be the leading candidate to be the next president of baseball operations in Queens. And as a fan of Billy Beane, as a fan of the Athletics mindset, outside of her having a horrendous payroll, I'm very much in favor for it. So Mets fans, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. How do you feel about this new update on Billy Beane? Do you like these comments? Do you think they're significant? Do you think they're not significant? What is the likelihood of him actually landing in Queens? And how much would you like to see Billy Beane actually be the favorite now going forward to land in this position? Let me know all your thoughts in the comments below. As always, folks, if you ended up enjoying this kind of Mets content and you want to see more great Mets content like this, please do not hesitate again from smashing that like and subscribe button, sharing this video with your friends, on the notification bell, all those great things. Thank you so much again for the continued support, folks. So much great content is coming out throughout the offseason. Endless content. I'm so excited. I hope you guys are too. I'll talk to you again soon, though. Let's go Mets, baby.